Good afternoon. It is April 1st, but this is no joke. This situation is it's no laughing matter. From Kushi and Vanessa, I'm Rick Richards. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to show.
That's right. Cute, huh? Welcome to COVID Cast 26. I'm your host, Rick Richards, and it is, as we said, April 1st, 2020. This is the evening show. You may have noticed I was accosted by some young hooligans. They were friends of the show. Shout out to Vanessa and Kushi. Welcome by anytime, girls, and thanks for the help on the intro. So, what is new in the world today? What is new in the world? First of all, before we do anything, I am gonna crush a monster and pop. Athletic Alliance Advanced Nootropic. Bang out 4 of these. And I have, at the risk of getting too salesy, I have some tight. I have some salesy news from our sponsor, Athletic Alliance. Athletic Alliance hydrolyzed protein. What's unique about hydrolyzed protein is that it is easily digestible for anybody that may have lactose intolerance or any problems with digestion. Hydrolyzed means that it's a step above isolate and that it's almost pre-digested. So it's very quick absorbing protein. Athletic Alliance hydrolyzed protein is $10. $10 for a tub this size. $10 for a tub that size at any GNC across Canada, and directly from athleticalliance.net. So you make a purchase, you get one of those for $10. Has over a 2-year shelf life. Protein. If you're going to hoard anything, I highly recommend hoarding protein. Toilet paper, protein, ramen noodles, Spam. That's all you need, right? Especially out here in the West Coast, it rains enough. We don't even need bottled water. All we need is a big funnel. It'll fill up quick, man. It snowed here today, April 1st. That was the big joke. It snowed this morning. Joke's on us, right? So let's do some shout outs. First of all, big shout out to the greatest tag team of all time, Road Warriors, Hawk and Animal. Shout out to Charlene, Terry, Heather, Vanessa, Diana, Kushi, Angela, Julia, Ivan from Sector B49. Shout out, Ivan. Mr. Beast, new watcher of the show. Steve, Dandix, Bobby, Jixer, Long Duck Dong, and producer Dave. Producer Dave could be joining us. I sent him an invitation because we're going to be talking about some stuff tonight that is in his wheelhouse, let's say. It's in my wheelhouse too. So that's what we're going to start with. So before we do that, before we do our updates, I'm going to give you a channel update. As most of you may know, Lisa, Kim, Tammy, and Tanya. I forgot you guys. Don't let me forget you, especially Lisa, friend of the show. Where was I? Okay, so any of you that have been watching the show regularly, I mean, it's only been 2 weeks, right? I started this as kind of a 2-week project just because I was going crazy with the prospect of quarantine and nothing to do. And, just this constant barrage of information on the COVID-19, the coronavirus. So I wanted to both offer a public service of sorts by parsing through this torrent of news that came into something condensable that, if I could help break things down for people, great. Also something to divert my energy into. I was doing 2 of those a day, and that was become a little much. So I've asked some viewers, what would you like to see? And it seems the consensus is I'm going to do 1 show a day going forward, and I'm going to do deep dives into various subjects that affect people's lives, with business, still with the COVID-19 and things like that. It's been a lot of progress on this channel. As I mentioned, only 2 weeks. We've been adding about 10 new subscribers a day, which is pretty good, I think, considering that, we're operating on zero budget, only one sponsor now. The views are creeping up, so continue to like, continue to share, continue to subscribe, recommend the channel. Hit me up with topics if you want to see me cover topics, break them down, especially stuff with, physical training, business. I'm those are in my wheelhouse, right? I'm a business strategist, essentially. That's what I've been doing for the last 20 years. So that's my thing, is breaking things down and analyzing them and showing you how they could be done or should be done, right? So moving on with that. Some quick news before I go into the updates. So we're getting a set of moving goalposts, right? Initially, and you know what? I'm not going to lay out any blame on this, right? I understand this is unprecedented. Everybody is sort of new, and the reason I'm calling this stuff out now is because I don't want to call it out 6 months from now and have people say, "Oh, sure, hindsight's 2020." Initially, we were told 2 weeks, right? Now the health minister for BC, Adrian Dix, I believe he's the health minister. He's come out and said, yeah, there's no way that the closures and the quarantine and all the measures in place, there's no way that they are ending before the end of April. Probably not in May either. So we had 2 weeks. That came and went. Then we had Trump was throwing out Easter. I realize that's for the US, but that came and went. And now we're moving off to the end of April, which is unlikely. So it looks like now we're going into May. So how the fuck long is this going to go on, right? Jesus, man. And I get the health concerns. Believe me, I understand, and I'm on board. But this has got to be dealt with in a different way. Okay, uncertainty is what kills people. Uncertainty is what will kill the economy, right? To put things in perspective, I can't even get a hairdresser. And you know what? My wife, Mrs. Richards, was watching YouTube videos last night on how to cut hair. By the way, I'm not giving her a shout out because she doesn't watch the show. Don't think I don't know that. Anyways, she's going to be cutting my hair and she's looking forward to it. That's kind of scary for me. That's kind of scary. So the thing is, as I've been saying all along, there are no metrics that we need to meet. We're getting vague terms like, this is all on you, British Columbians or whoever, whatever jurisdiction you're in. We got to maintain the physical distancing. We're going to flatten the curve. You could be a trans, like everything, nothing is specific. And psychologically, that is the worst way that you can get things done. And I will tell you this, again, this is in my wheelhouse. This is absolutely what I do for a living, right? Okay, so if you want a goal, let's say you want a business to do $1 million in sales, right? Well, you don't just hire a bunch of people and say, hey man, let's go sell stuff and make a company. Well, okay, for how long, when, what, how, I don't know. We'll know if we're doing a good job. We want to see our sales go like this. We want to see a steady line up on our sales. If the line goes up, then we know we're doing good. No, man. That's not the way you do it. Okay. And you can't just throw goals like, hey, we want to do $100 million. $100 million. That's our goal. Okay. Maybe we should get to 1 million first, right? So I think in psychology, this is called either segmenting or chunking, right? So what you want to do is if you want to keep people on board, what you do is you give them a defined time limit and a defined set of goals, right? So what you do is you say, okay, our goal for the first 30 days of this business is we want to acquire 6 new customers, right? An average of 1.5 customers a week. If we can get 6 customers and say $10,000 in revenue in our first month, then that's our target, and that's how we will know we're being successful, right? And then we are going to escalate those targets and escalate those goals. But before you can do $100 million, you have to be a company that can do $80 million, right? It has to be within reach. You need to set the necessary preconditions. Same thing with this, right? Flatten the curve. Tell us what that means, right? We all know what a curve looks like when it goes flat. Okay. But does it have to be zero? You hear people come out with really stupid things, and this is going to make me sound insensitive. I get it. Wouldn't be the first time I've heard that. I'm actually quite a sensitive guy, and I'm quite caring, but I don't do fakery. Okay. I don't do phony caring and phony virtue signaling because it's stupid. So you will hear people say things like, even one death is unacceptable. Okay, is it acceptable to close down the global economy as long as one person dies per week from this? One death is unacceptable. Surely 52 a year must be unacceptable, right? We don't know. We don't know. We haven't been given any measures. We don't know what counts as success. We don't know when we can stop. This is all very bad because people like to build their lives. There's a lot of shit we can't control, right? We can't control tsunamis. We can't control the weather. We can't control the wild swings of the stock market unless we're one of these global elites, right? There's very little that we actually can control. All we can control is our immediate environment and a few things that we interact with. So again, you're putting us in a situation with no direction and no control and just giving us platitudes and saying, you know what, everyone needs to do their part. Or Canada's supporting you. No, man, that's not happening, right? So rant over. I will get off that subject, but it looks like this is going to go on for a while, man. So I'll be doing this damn channel for a while, I guess, right? Not that I mind. I like it, actually. It's a good way for me to interact with people and engage with people and explore thoughts and stuff like that. So I'm happy to do it. So anyways, you know what? Let's get on to some of these updates before we get on to our main subject. Okay, we'll refresh this. I gotta be careful with these rants. Sorry, guys, but as you can see, I'm a bit of a talker, and when I go, I go. All right. So globally, we are at 934,236 cases. So globally, there will be 1 million cases fairly soon. Deaths, 46,923. So right away, we're getting very close to some key numbers here, 1 million, and then probably 50,000 deaths. So we can say that of the confirmed cases, there is a death rate of about 5%. But we have to bear in mind that of these cases are people that are tested because they're A, rich and famous, B, strong reason to believe that they've been exposed to the virus, or C, showing symptoms. So 95% of the people that fall into that category will live. That's not bad, right? I know it's not great, but that's not bad. I mean, if someone said you can go play the lottery, if someone told my old gray-haired daddy, old Bobby, if they said, listen, there's a slot machine and you know, it pays out 95% of the time, do you think he'd go play? I wouldn't be able to get him out with dynamite. He'd be in there day and night, right? So that's one way to look at that. Let's go through country by country here. Start with the new deaths. Spain is now leading in the death rate. New deaths, 923, closing in on 1,000. That's quite high. Still, that's 10%. They could pass Italy. It's hard to say. I mean, January 30th was their first case. Italy, January 29th. I don't know. I think my hunch is that Italy had a better initial response than Spain. I think Spain was a little slower out of the gate dealing with this, and this is why it's kind of surging now. Still, the US is well over 200,000 cases now, which is the most in the world by far. They're adding a lot of new cases still. Total deaths only less than 5,000. So that's positive. The number is still accelerating though. So, I mean, here's another thing. We heard a lot of early numbers and even recently talk that, 1 million people in the US could die. And then it was sort of revised down to 250,000. Yeah, you know what? I'm not a doctor. I don't play a doctor on YouTube. I'm not even a chiropractor. I'm just some idiot spouting things off, right? But I am going to say right here and now, I don't even think it'll be 100,000. Okay, I really don't. Not, and that's not to minimize it or say that, you know, it's not great. I just think, you know, the actions that are involved to limit the spread, the global attention this thing's getting, it's all going to keep that number way down. Let me shoot off a quick text to producer Dave Darnley to make sure that he is on. I haven't seen much of him. I can do it without him, of course, but it'd be nice to have old Dave kicking in. Yeah. Okay, moving down. Germany. Germany has quite a few cases. They're creeping up on 100,000. They probably get to 100,000 within maybe 2 weeks. Their death rate is moving up as well. Don't have any particular insight into that. The Netherlands, I had told you guys earlier that the Netherlands will probably surge. The Netherlands and a few other places that did not record their first case until February. Even the Netherlands, though, it's slowing down somewhat, right? And there we go. Are there any other countries we should have on the watch list here? Canada, of course, is creeping up to 10,000. Let's go directly to Canada. So here we can see British Columbia, 1066. For you history buffs, that's the year William the Conqueror. That's the year William the Conqueror went to England. That was the last year that England was conquered, 1066. Anyways, history trivia aside, 25 deaths, 606 recovered. So again, I mean, this kind of looks like a flattening curve to me, right? I mean, it was at 19 for quite a while. Then it went up by 4. And, you know, one, you know, there's considering there's 1,000, you know, the death rate is pretty good. I mean, we established, just by looking globally, we established that of confirmed cases, the death rate was about 5%. Whereas you can see right here in Canada, or in BC, sorry, that's 25%, or 2.5%. The other provinces creeping up as well, but certainly not so serious. I mean, New Brunswick, 0 deaths, right? And what would we expect from New Brunswick? So we're seeing between 2.5 in a good case scenario and 5% of confirmed cases to result in a death. Nova Scotia, they're still at 0 and they're at 173. So I mean, it's not even that high. Newfoundland and Labrador, you know, it's almost 0.5%. Manitoba, it's about 1%. So I'm telling you guys, man, I mean, I'm staying on board with everything, and I recognize the seriousness of this, but I don't think it's as bad. I don't think it's as bad, or at least the measures are really working well, right? Why don't we say that? All right. So the main topic for tonight: are we looking at a retail apocalypse? I want to go through all the segments of the economy because I really think there's a lot of misconceptions among the public. I really think that there's some misperceptions in that you can just kind of stop things and start things, right? And that is certainly not the case. That's certainly not the case. Hold on a second here. Oh, you know what? I got some last minute housekeeping. I forgot to tell you guys. BC Hydro, like one of the things we've heard, right? One of the things we have heard is that, you know, we're all in this together kind of thing, right? And we all got to get through it. Well, you know, the banks don't feel like they're in it with us, do they? My mortgage came out today. How about yours? Did you guys all have to pay rent today? Did your mortgages come out? Some of the utility companies, if you're one of those people that signed up for smart metering, you're getting hammered, right? Because people are at home all the time now, and they have scaling rates depending on the hour. So utility bills are getting really high, but we do have some good news on that front in BC. BC Hydro is offering a 3-month bill credit for residential customers and small businesses who have lost work as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. There's that. One more item of housekeeping that will dovetail into the retail apocalypse. So I was talking to an accountant today and asking them just about the situation. Many of you have heard for businesses, there is a wage subsidy. And so here it is. The wage subsidy, there's a 75% wage subsidy, right? That means employers will pay 25% of an employee's salary, and the government will pay 75%, right? That's ostensibly what it means. The details are a little different. So this subsidy will be for March, April, and May, and they may extend if it's needed. You have to show a decline of 30% or more in gross business revenue for the same period last year. So March compared to March, etc. The total amount available for each employee is up to $58,700 per year, or $847 per month. That I don't understand. I mean, $847 a month does not add up to $58,700 per year. You have to show that you are doing your best to pay the remaining 25% to your employees. Any money received under this program must be used to pay employees. There will be severe penalties if you misuse these funds. Okay, get it. There will be a web portal opening. Not sure when. Okay, so nobody knows when the web portal will open to apply for this. And you must apply each month. Also not sure what the application will entail. Jesus Christ. But I'm guessing your books will have to be up to date to get the correct numbers. You receive the funds within 6 weeks of submitting the application. 6 weeks. Okay, so, oh boy. All right, so 6 weeks of submitting an application, you will receive the funds. Okay, so as of today, you can't submit an application. The portal is going up, I guess, today or within the next few days. So I'm not quite sure what you're supposed to say to your employees. Here's 25%. I should have the other 75% in 6 weeks. Like, come on, man. I mean, that's not good. And getting back to the small business here. So the reason it's such a big problem is because most small businesses, and I mean, they run the gamut. Small business, I think the classification actually goes up to something like I don't know, what is it, 10 million a year in revenue. Small and medium businesses, maybe up to 50 million. I'm not sure exactly what the threshold is, but we tend to think of the same things when we think of small businesses. We think of like 0 to 10 employees, that kind of thing, just running out of an office. And small businesses and retail in particular of the small businesses. So much like the virus itself, this situation attacks and has the most devastating effects on things that are already compromised. So just like a person with a compromised immune system is going to suffer much more from the coronavirus, industries that are already stressed are also going to suffer a lot more. And retail is one of those. So retail's been in trouble for a while, right? So I'm going to share some information here. So small businesses could vanish during the coronavirus pandemic. As states take stronger, broader measures to contain the coronavirus, economists warn that time is running out to save America's small business community. The Small Business Administration lists approximately 30 million in the US, spread across the United States. Collectively, they employ almost 60 million people. So this may be small business, but this is big, right? By the end of June, up to half of them might be gone. Okay, so that's a catastrophe, right? We can all acknowledge that. That is horribly, horribly damaging to the economy. One thing you have to remember is, and this small business and retail, there's always a period of things coalesce and efficiencies develop. And that's kind of just the natural progression of things, right? So, um, for example, if you want to do shopping, you don't want to go to 10 different places, loading up 5 different carts and 6 different baskets and whatever, right? I mean, if possible, you want to get the lowest price and the quickest experience, unless you actually really enjoy shopping, that you can. So, so how do these things kind of work? Like before, let's rewind and go back even before the COVID-19. So let's say you have a record store, right? You have a record store, you sell records, everything's going great, and then a Walmart moves into town. You're the owner of the record store. Let's say you have, I don't know, 4 employees, right? You make a middle class income off this, enough to buy a house and all that stuff. Maybe your manager, maybe you have a manager that also makes enough that they can afford, a house and a car. And then you have 3 employees that are either part time or full time that are paid less, but it's working for them at the stage of their life that they're in, right? So 2 of you making a middle class income, and 4 or 5 people employed altogether. Okay, so let's say Walmart moves into town, right? Walmart doesn't open a record store, but they open a record department. And the record department, they don't have a store owner, they just have an employee. And could be a manager, but more often than not, they would have 1 senior employee and then maybe 2 other part-timers that are also working there. So right away, you've lost a person that's going to be middle class in the society that can afford to have a family, afford to have a house, afford to have a car. You've lost that person. He's gone, right? Um, Also, you've lost his manager. He's gone, and you've lost the property tax that he pays, the utilities again that business would pay, the GST, whatever other individual tax bases that would collect. Because I guarantee you, the aggregate, the combined amount of taxes that all those small businesses pay are not going to be equal to what Walmart pays. Walmart will pay way less. Okay, so you have that. You have people that could sustain a good living gone, and that happens. Record store goes out of business. Hardware store goes out of business. Hardware store, you have a Home Depot coming up that completely wipes them out. There's no way they can compete with that. Or you have a hardware section at a place like a Walmart, right? So, I mean, that process started, I guess, I don't know, 30 years ago, I'd say, just big box stores just became more and more prevalent, right? So they were under some strain from that. But they managed to survive by offering unique services, boutique services, things that were a little more specialized or niche, that didn't suit the Walmart business model, right? So um, we fast forward, and now we have online shopping, right? Let's take a hit of the monster. So now we have online shopping. Online shopping, you can carry, instead of having a physical limitation on the number of items you can carry, now you can carry 1,000 items, right? Instead of only being able to carry 100 items, now you can carry 1,000. Not only can you carry 1,000 items, but you don't even have to pay to warehouse them. You charge a warehousing fee to the owner of those items, the manufacturer, and the manufacturer will pick up that fee, and they could pick up the delivery fee as well. So you don't have to pay the storage, you don't have to pay the delivery. Those are options with Amazon. Um, and you don't have to pay the stocking fee. You don't have to produce the stock. You eliminate all of those costs, but you keep the sales, right? All your focus is driving traffic into your site and providing the payment process. So that again will completely decimate these smaller boutique stores, right? And it probably hurts the Walmarts too, to be honest. Walmart, food items. That's why they've gotten into food items, because those are a little harder to replicate on an online platform. Not impossible, but harder. So that's been going on, right? And it's been a big problem. So, oops, sorry, I think I just nuked Dave. Maybe he'll hit me back again. So, um, store closures in Canada are going to escalate significantly. Hudson Bay, you may remember. Oh, here it is here, actually. Hudson Bay closed early on in this process. And I think the reason for that is Hudson Bay just said, the Bay just said, you know what, man, we're barely making it a go as it is. So we're just going to shut our doors for this. And what you had, I mean, they're not a small business even, but they are retail. And what you have to ask yourself is, okay, so Hudson Bay, let's say they lay off, I don't know, 1,000 employees, right? Well, it's not just a pause button. You know, you can't just say, hey, quarantine over, come on back in, people. No, it's not going to work that way. Those 1,000 people, not all of them are going to be able to come back to work. Some will have moved on to other things. Others may have health issues. Some may want to wait it out. They're not going to be able to hire all those places back. Some of the locations where the lease is running out or expiring, they're probably just going to let that go, right? Other stores that were marginal in terms of profitability, this may have made it completely impossible for them to be profitable over the course of the year. So those will be phased out. Same thing with malls. Like, how often do you go to a mall now, right? Malls have survived, a lot of them, and they've done it by adding extra features. But coronavirus threatens to be their Armageddon. On Sunday, President Trump announced the federal social distancing measures will continue through the end of April. While he said that details of the extended recommendations would follow on Tuesday, it is likely that all the non-essential stores, including malls, will remain closed till then. These are necessary steps to save people's lives, yet it may result in the death of many retailers. Malls in particular are most at risk in these days of social distancing, which is why this person sees a retail Armageddon on the horizon. So yeah, she's saying, forget the retail apocalypse, let's talk Armageddon. I don't know if it'll be that bad. I think I'm not quite that black-pilled. Retail faces a doomsday scenario of biblical proportions. Major national retailers largely ignored the prophetic warnings of the retail apocalypse, blah, blah, blah. She gets into some lecturing. 97% of the 450 brick and mortar retail executives it just surveyed have closed some or all of their doors. Wow, that's a lot. All right. So yeah, I mean, most of them have been stressed as it is, and this is really, really going to be difficult. They've expanded their offering to, ironically, they've added things like movie theaters and arcades and restaurants, all the stuff that's been closed down, right? Social distancing has become the new normal for American way of life, and given people's rising awareness of the threat to gathering in indoor spaces with crowds, it's unlikely that they are going to resume those habits again. So we're seeing it happen. And I guess the question is, it will happen, it is happening. Will there be a possibility of rebounding from it? And so from another article from NBC News, that's a different subject altogether. Okay, so the challenge retailers are going to face is they have to look at offering items, solutions, services, goods, whatever you want to call it, that are not replicable, right? So heavy items, for example, it's pretty hard to order a hot water tank online, right? Services like health food stores and vitamins and places like that, you can get that stuff from online, or you can get it from Walmart, but you can't get somebody talking to you, taking 10-15 minutes out of their day to explain why this particular thing might be better than this particular thing, right? So there's that advantage as well. But overall, I think there's Dave.
Hey, Rick, how you doing?
Pretty good. We were
Had
just
some technical difficulties on my end.
testicle difficulties.
Yeah, some testicle difficulties.
I don't think we want to know what that is.
Yeah.
But you know what, Dave, you're catching us right at the end here. So we're going to let you weigh in. Basically, what we've been talking about is just the effect that the COVID-19 is going to have on retail, and tell us what you foresee as the challenge that's going to face the retail not only during this but coming out of this.
Well, in all honesty, Rick, some of the things that I've been observing with the retail space is the fact that, people are now buying products in stores they don't normally buy. I'll give you an example. Supplements is probably the best example. Typically, most people go to a specific supplement store. In Canada, obviously, we have Popeyes and we have G&Cs. But certainly, I think the landscape is really changing now. People are becoming accustomed to doing the one-stop shop. So, historically, buying supplements in a grocery store hasn't been something that most people have done. Those that have done it are typically your older clientele that maybe just live a healthier lifestyle. But I think now with the COVID-19, I think that landscape's actually changing. And not only is it changing now, but I think it's going to change the way of the future. I think you're going to see stores like Walmart getting a little more aggressive with their supplement space. Loblaws, a lot of your bigger grocery chains here in Canada, I think they're going to identify that as a huge opportunity, and it's certainly going to reflect in sales as well.
So for supplement retailers, I think that's for sure. Which retailers do you think, like which industry and which retailers do you think are going to be permanently gone from this? Like are not going to make a comeback?
That's an interesting thought process. I think anything that's deemed non-essential right now in the retail space is going to be challenged to make a comeback once this is all over. Certainly, some of your clothing chains, your larger chains that can absorb the extensive rent that they're paying on a monthly basis. But it's going to be an interesting time. When this COVID's all said and done, I think that we're going to see a different realm of shopping. I think online shopping is really going to increase. We're hearing a lot about it in the last couple of years, but I'd love to look at statistics based on the online shopping. I think it's going to drive a lot of people there, especially for products that they don't have to try on. I think we're going to see those results.
What would you what is something that you absolutely will not buy online that you will only buy if you can go in person, see it, talk to somebody about it?
Anything that I need to try on. Certainly clothing. Clothing, I've tried it in the past. I bought clothes online and, they don't look the same when you get them. Obviously the sizing, depending on where it's made, if it's made in China, their sizing, I'm not a big guy. I'm, 190 pounds, 5'10". Typically I wear between a large and perhaps an extra large, but in the Chinese size, I'm wearing triple XL, so it makes me feel a lot bigger than I am. So certainly I certainly wouldn't buy clothes like that. Shoes, obviously shoes, I'm sure you can attest to that.
So clothing for sure, right?
Absolutely. Clothing for sure.
But having said that, you could actually buy something from a store and then do a repeat purchase of the item online because you already know what size you take, right?
Yes, you can do that, but certainly, in most cases, if you're going to go to that extreme of going to the store, then it all depends on the customer service you get. It depends on what kind of clothing you get. Like specifically, I deal with more of a tailored clother, just for the fact that I can't buy dress clothes off the rack. My up top is a 46 and I have a 33 waist. Try to buy a suit off the rack. Impossible. You end up getting, typically it's 8 sizes lower. So if I got a 46 jacket, that means I got a 38 waist. Well, when I get that taken in, the pockets are in the middle of my ass, right? So
that's not going to work, right?
That's not going to work.
Well, I was in, I had some video earlier, and I was downtown today, downtown Vancouver. You know what? I was getting so bored of this quarantine. I thought, you know what? I'm going to get up and shake the dust of this crummy little town off and see the world. But you can't see the world, so I thought, okay, I'll go to Vancouver instead. And I went down Robson Street, right? And that's some of the most expensive commercial real estate in the country, and it's all boarded up. Like, I'd say 80% of the businesses are either closed, and probably 50-60% of them are actually boarded up. Not just closed, but boarded up, right?
Well, it's interesting you say that because, if you look at the retail space today, I think the only two companies that are really making a lot of money are duct tape companies that make duct tape, because they give you that 6-foot social distancing, got duct tape all over the floors. And then the other ones that are making money are the printers, because, I went down Main Street Unionville, and every business was plastered with, if it wasn't a restaurant, huge sign saying takeout only, takeout only.
Mm-hmm. So is it fair to say then that once this isolation, quarantine, or whatever the hell it's called, lockdown, it doesn't even really have a name, does it? Does it have a name?
It doesn't have a name.
Not really.
Actually, what it does, it has a thought, and that thought is confusion. That's what it is.
Yeah, well, there's definitely a lack of clarity. I was saying that earlier on. But now, once it's over, do you foresee, like, most retail businesses, just picking up where they were? Like, groceries obviously going to be fine, right?
Yeah. Well, I think the first retail that's going to pick up is the service-oriented retail, in all honesty. Salons. I know you've talked a few times on the show, and I'm looking at you now, and we both need haircuts. So certainly that's probably one of the first things on our list that we're going to do is go get a haircut, right?
Yeah, certainly, that's a good thought, Dave. Those places are going to be super busy, right?
You've got people, you got women that want to get their nails done. You've got, both men and women that, go get their eyebrows plucked. And I'm sure there's a lot of people walking around with unibrows right now,
Yeah. What do you think about click and collect? Like, let's say you do an order online, and then you can just go and collect it at the nearest retail outlet for that thing, right? Do you like that, or do you like to have stuff delivered to you?
I prefer, I've become accustomed to online shopping, Uber Eats, even eating now, like Uber Eats. I actually ordered, Uber Eats tonight. You order it from the comfort of your house, you order exactly what you got, you get it here, and boom, it's in 25 minutes. It's at your door. Oh. I'm going to spend more than that, getting in my truck, driving down to the restaurant, either going through the drive-through or going into the restaurant itself. And right now I can. And by the time I get home, I've burned 40 minutes. So certainly, that has been beneficial. The other things I've noticed, like, when you go into a drugstore right now, like a Shoppers Drug Mart, it's interesting how they do. Like, I went in and they had Lysol wipes, and it said one per person. But interesting enough, I watched 3 people walking up to the till with armfuls of product. So are they putting those signs up just for the public to see and actually not enforce it?
Yeah, that's possible, right? Or maybe they just can't be bothered to fight with people over it, right?
Yeah.
By the way, I'm going to give you a good tip.
Sure.
If you want to use those wipes, like, I know those things are very hard to buy right now, use Armor All wipes.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
keeps things clean. Yeah. Keeps things clean and shiny.
Yeah, it'll keep you very shiny.
Well, you're at it. You could use the leatherette wipes, right? It just makes the forehead look a lot younger too.
Yeah, it stiffens you up, right?
Exactly.
All right. You know what? I think we will end it there. Any final words on the retail industry in general?
Well, I would hope, to all the viewers watching, that certainly, the ones that are really important in the retail space are the independent guys, guys and girls. I think that certainly it's important, if there's an opportunity where you can support in any way now, buy a gift card. If you've got a local place that you like to shop at, certainly if it's an independent, that little bit you do now is going to do a lot later. And, I think more and more people have to think that way. I think some of the bigger corporates will stay alive, but certainly we're going to see a lot of closures. We definitely will see a lot of closures in the retail world and the restaurant world for that matter as well.
Yeah.
Personally,
Well, yeah, we will for sure. And you know what? I would remind people, I would say, I would echo what you're saying. And you know what? If you go out and you patronize a local family-owned restaurant, or a salon or a small business, that means that family can take a vacation that year, or the kid gets hockey lessons, right? Like it's not going towards some corporate retreat somewhere, right? It's
well,
going to
some high paid executive that's sitting on the board that's making millions of dollars. You look at different corporations, and it's become a huge challenge. You see these senior, the CEOs of companies making, you look at Ontario Hydro, like, I mean, $3 million a year. Next person, as soon as you get below that level, you're talking in the hundreds of thousands. Like, I mean, there's just such a huge landscape difference, in the retail segment for sure.
Yeah, and I mean they're hardworking, and it's never really easy for them. Even when things go well, things can turn very quickly in any kind of retail environment, right?
Well, yeah, when you talk about independent business, Rick, not only is it important to support your independent people that you like to shop at, because it puts food on their table, so on and so forth. More importantly, during these tough times, it could help one of their family members if they're ill. If they don't have the money, what ends up happening, right?
Yeah, that's a good point, Dave.
So.
All right. Well, listen, we will draw a line under it, pick this up again. I'm sure retail and the economy and just the whole effects of this bizarre situation are going to be frequent topics of conversation for us, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So for producer Dave Darnley, I'm Rick Richards. Remember, if we're with you, can't nobody be against you. See you next time.